I'm now going to hand over to Tegan. Tegan is our ecosystem lead here at Supra. He's going to be talking about Super Perps on Supra with 4 panelists. Tegan, over to you to introduce our panelists, man. Take it away.
Thank you so much, James. My name is Tegan. I'm the ecosystem lead for Supra, and just waiting for all the panelists to come in, but just setting the tone. This segment, as the name suggests, is going to be around Perps and why Supra specifically acts as the perfect sandbox, at least in my opinion, for building out the next generation of perpetual futures platforms and derivatives trading due to the containers idea that John touched on in the first segment, and also the fact that we're enshrining our Oracle services and beaconing that into every single block. I think we're waiting on a few for this panel. Some of our panelists includes Kana Labs, Virtual Labs, Virtue DeFi, and Tamada. I see DeFi DGen from Virtue is here already. Do you want to kick it off with the intro on your side?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Tegan, for the introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Supra's Perps space. I'm DeFi Division. I'm building Virtue, an on-chain derivative infrastructure enabling you to build permissionless markets of any asset class you can think of: forex, commodity, metal, crypto, data streams, whether anything you feel like, backed by any on-chain asset, including LP tokens, fig walls, or anything you can think of. Yeah, and yep, that's pretty much it by me. We've been building Perps for the last few years in the DeFi and see a lot of innovations going around from Hyperliquid to DeFi DX to GMX and others. That's what gave me the idea of building Virtue, which unifies the best of all these. So at Virtue, essentially what we are building is derivative infrastructure, enabling anybody to launch their own derivative market. Users can choose, or end protocols can choose from launching an order book-based derivative market or a pool-based derivative market, or even likes of intent and others as well is possible. And yeah, the tech of Supra is pretty cool, and we're excited to build on it, especially with the sub-second latency, as well as the high-speed performance that we're expecting. And obviously, derivatives heavily rely on the Oracle infrastructure, so it's pretty much a perfect fit and environment for our derivative execution.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the intro there. I see Serby is a listener from Kana Labs.
Oh, I'm on.
Yeah. Awesome.
Hi, Tegan, and nice to hear your voice on Space. I think it was the first time. And hey, everybody, thanks for organizing the space. I'm Serby. I'm from one of the co-founders from Kana Labs and the head of business development. We guys have now been building for a while, and I think 2 of our co-founders had been building in the space since 2013. I'm one of the co-developers from the beginning on Ethereum, and are super psyched about Supra. Now, one other thing that we have continuously focused on is to reach out to the billions around the globe who are unbanked still and who are not financially independent, and to build tools leveraging our expertise to let them on board and to have that power to be able to be inclusive and hence develop together. So now for that, we know how to build blockchain, we know how to trade, and that's the way of building. And on Supra as well, we plan to leverage a few tools such as a cross-chain or intent, which would definitely solve the liquidity positioning, which itself Supra is almost at the pivotal point of solving, and rather gives a big advantage to all those building on Supra as well. And of course, the perps, which we plan to build on Supra. I think that's from me, unless I missed something, but I think it's a longer space. Hey, guys.
Thank you so much, Serby. That was amazing. I'm definitely looking forward to the intent infrastructure. And it seems like you guys are the first building this in the move space, with intents being so prevalent in EVM, but not yet in move. So that's definitely exciting. DeFi Peter, over to you for a quick intro.
Jim, everybody, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Hey guys, I'm Peter. Been in the space since about 2020, 2019. Effectively, I'm here with the team at Tamada. I'm one of the core contributors here. Tamada, what we're essentially doing is we're launching a V33 meta DEX on Supra, which essentially allows us to create dual rewards. So vote gauged bribe incentives. We'll have direct pool incentives, multiple pools as well. So concentrated liquidity, weighted multi-asset auto liquidity management. But at the same time as well, we'll also have a very attractive UX. A lot of the other DEXs that we've seen in the moment right now not too great on the UX UI side. So we wanted to go ahead and make that a much easier user experience for everybody. But at the same time, as well as we also actually wanted to create a tokenomics schedule that actually creates true value to the token and to the ecosystem. So all of our tokens are going to be locked. We're going to have way better liquidity incentives, and there's going to be actually a 70% reduction in sell pressure against traditional DEX tokens that are just like ours. At the same time, we also do have huge ecosystem benefits for having the meta DEX. So there's going to be huge network effects. So we'll be able to attract new projects and new users. We'll able to increase the overall blockchain activity and innovation. We'll be able to make it much more decentralized. So we'll be able to promote active governance and participation, leading to much more diverse decision making and strong market cycle resilience as well. So a lot of the other bear markets, token gets destroyed, the liquidity basically dries up, nobody ever wants to trade on it. The tokenomics model that we're creating right now is going to basically help to bolster against that and to protect not only the exchange, but also the users and the LPs as well. So that's a little bit about ours. Very excited to be here, and let's go Supra.
Let's go. Thank you for the intro there. Phil, over to you.
Yes, can you hear me also very good?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay, good to be here. Thanks for being here. Yes, we built VDEX, basically incubated by Virtual Labs, and it's like a VDEX, a PerpDEX, basically based on our virtual roll-up technology. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting time, I think. It was mentioned before, but also our Perp is also full self-custody, and yeah, sustainable Bitcoin yields, obviously, and with the new all-time high right now, I think that's also something. So yeah, glad to be here.
I think sustainable Bitcoin yields definitely grabs my attention. Putting Bitcoin to work and driving more yield to that has been something, those opportunities I've been looking for across the space. And digging into your white paper, I was very excited about the yield opportunities Virtual Labs is able to bring. So excited to have you guys on. I want to dive right in as we're short on time. There's been a lot of movement in the Perps landscape this year. So what in particular has stood out to you the most? Let's start off.
Yeah, currently we have seen both the developments, or I would say the rise of on-chain order book infrastructure, especially by Hyperliquid, as well as intent getting more and more popular and more, I would say, capital efficient. So in regards to that, I see what Supra has built is actually a great environment to execute both of them, especially if you want to build on-chain order book infrastructure. The high QPS and the finality helps a lot. And also the containers and everything else also can ensure that if you're running a multi-settlement infrastructure like Virtual, like you're having pool, you're having order book infrastructure, you want to support intent or any upcoming matching algorithm or system, Supra containers are pretty good fit, as well as Supra blockchain in general is also pretty cool. And yeah, we'll love to see how we can basically bring Hyperliquid, but at a Hyperliquid on Supra.
I love it. Hyper liquid. Serbia, I heard on-chain order book and intents get shouted out. Do you want to add on to that?
Yes. First of all, I love the term hyperliquid. It's almost every AMA too, how everyone crypto we talk like hyper talking. But sorry, but getting back to the point, yes. I think a very good point made by them. I think order books is something which we've seen. And also the container approach is Supra is bringing. So this is something which of course does not exist so robustly. But a lot of the perp dexes from order book itself, like creating their own chain or making it native to the protocol. So the finality or the execution speed is fast enough for them or the traders, which can replicate or imitate how it would happen in centralized exchanges. Now combine that with like your intent framework, or let's stop calling it intent, but rather like the liquidity fragmentation problem being solved. I think it almost replicates like what you would have in any of the centralized exchanges, particularly such as Binance, or even if you go like back to the traditional finance, like a CME or Eurex or London Stock Exchange, wherein you need an infrastructure or framework which allows you to simply develop and simply trade with minimal time risk. In addition to the other good points which I've seen this year, however, I think what I'm excited about Supra, and this is what has been a little bit of a challenge, we started seeing the high frequency trading also taking place now with a lot of the chains. I think the front running bit, even on the non-EVM side now, where we can see there is this race to reaching the first space and how we can avoid spoofing or other bits, which is one thing like why I think Supra's infrastructure, how it is, will help resolve the issues. And one thing, the fun part about I think Perps, which has come is the gamification. It allows people, a lot of people who've not been in the space, who've not studied trading, who've not done a lot of other things, and who couldn't be from any other background to come trade. I think those are my 2 bits. And we're excited about building it actually. So let's see.
Amazing. Okay, a little bit of free fall. Who wants to jump in?
All right, I guess I'll take it. Building off what Serbi said there, I think that what we're seeing now in 2024 is definitely a lot different than what we've been seeing in other cycles. When DYDX started the perp space, there wasn't a lot of adoption for it. There wasn't a lot of demand specifically for perps. But as we've seen the market essentially develop stronger and stronger, we've started to get a much bigger inflow of users from the public side. But because of this, we've also seen a much larger presence of the institutional players. So the things is we've seen a lot of front running, a lot of spoofing, a lot of wash trading. And I think that specifically with the tech that Supra is building is going to allow exchanges to create a more fair user experience for those end users to help increase the adoption. Because the thing is, if you're an end user or a retail trader and you basically get front ran enough times and you start to lose those percentage points every single trade, you're going to not want to trade anymore. So the thing is, we need to figure out ways that we can protect these end users so that they have a fair chance of being able to make money in the long run. Because without the retail traders that we're able to bring into the space, it's just going to be us and market makers fighting against each other, trying to make money off of each other. And the thing is, that's not the way that spaces grow, which is why we're seeing that we're in the altcoin bull, quote unquote, bear market right now, where Bitcoin's doing really well. Bitcoin's at all-time highs, but there's not a lot of confidence in altcoin markets because it's basically been retail traders getting screwed out of their positions for the past year or so. So I think what Supra is building with their containers and specifically their integrated Oracle services are going to help give those end users an advantage to actually want them to stay in the space and help to build that support for a long-term ecosystem play that's going to allow perps specifically to basically take mainstream adoption in the next cycle, in my opinion.
I have to jump in on that one. That was very interesting. You're referring to MEV and also maximum extractable value as well as Oracle extractable value. Now, what we intend to do with Supra is to deterministically enshrine the price sheets. Right now, if you don't enshrine it, then you actually have a race to backrun the Oracle update. And what's happening is there's backroom deals with the large node operators who happen to also sometimes be large high-frequency trading firms and DCs that if you, in protocols in which the stake-weighted leader block production, right? If you have a higher probability of being the block producer, if you can backrun the Oracle, and especially, by the way, if you're a huge validator, a high-frequency trading perp, and you run Oracle and you run a bridge, you have, and there's a group out there that does this, you have almost an unbeatable advantage. Now, this is the reason, Peter, right? We have to solve this because it's killing the golden goose, meaning if retail is getting fleece constant, they're going to give up playing because it's not fair. It's not fair, by the way, that system's set up right now. And that's why these folks are rather playing some speculative coin game instead of actual real DeFi, because at least it's when there's 10,000 new coins launching in a day, you can't have a single market maker monitoring them all. Anyhow, Super does really care about MEV mitigation. And I'm not sure if you guys know this, but one of the techniques that we are exploring is in combination with containers, because containers naturally create what are called localized fee markets. But we're also, because we have enshrined and built in through threshold cryptography, threshold signatures on Supra, every block will have unpredictable verifiable randomness. Okay, so what we can do with that, we can use that as a random seed to execute all the transactions in a randomized order. So now you have randomized execution. What is interesting about this is that the bribing of the node operator or whatever backroom deals these folks are doing is severely mitigated, right? And then, of course, what they're going to say in their strategy next is going to be, okay, I'll tell you what, that's pretty interesting, but I'm just going to spam it. So I have higher probability of my transaction landing at the top of the block or following an Oracle update. Great, hence the need for localized street marketing. This is something that is natural to containers. So localized street marketing, if you hit the same state, we exponentially increase the costs, so spamming doesn't become profitable anymore. I just want to point out that Super really cares about a fair playing field, neutral but fair. These things are decentralized and are supposed to be incredibly neutral, but they're not, because there's all these backroom deals with these perverse incentives right now. And the truth of the matter is, if you're an entity, okay, oh, they would never do that. They're publicly traded. They're regulated. Okay, sure. But have you seen all their sister companies and the organizational architectures, the shell companies and beyond? The answer is no. So the answer is yes, they shield themselves from liability to protect their own kind of golden goose and their golden egg. But they are playing a game in which, well, the truth of the matter is, if there's not clear regulation, there's no rules yet. So they're optimizing and doing whatever they need to do right now in that context. And or at least retail is a really bad idea. It's too short term and it hurts us all. So and that was a really great point you made. And Super is trying to create a technically provable fair game fields for everyone, so that it's just more equitable for every participant. So that's what we're striving for.
And if I may jump in, taken very quickly, Joshua, thank you so much for giving an overview on that. Do you think, particularly in this case, the fact that Supra, the container approach, but also the accessibility, both from the Move side and the EVM side, because there are a lot of things with respect to, let's say, MEV protection, like where EVM is still more better structured in a certain way, probably because it has tools which can stop the front funding, or the Move side, where like rapid and cost efficient, like order adjustments, or even regarding the custom bot strategies with Move chain offers, like all these things do provide a slight edge or a great edge to Supra in this case?
I'll tell you this much. Move lending, we are convinced, is going to become dominant, but it might take 10 years. Put it that way. Facebook is traditionally really well known to create wonderful, beautiful, elegant languages. So GraphQL, React, and MoveLine. They invested. We should thank Zuckerberg, at least his cool again, for cool for the first time in his life recently. But yeah, actually, he is a visionary, and they invested into languages. And I would say with both distributed computer cryptography techniques as well as a programming language, MEV is going to be mitigated. And I don't think it's going to be fully solved, but to a large degree, it can be mitigated. So yeah, the future is bright.
The alpha is wheel here. And thanks for jumping in there, Serby, with the extra question. I think this also really pertains to some of the current narratives, at least on my feed. I saw Unichain come out, did not expect that at all. And one of the core value props there was around MEV and OEV. They collaborated with Flashbots to design the block ordering mechanisms to mitigate this, which originally before that, I thought it made no sense for a DEX to create its own L2 or app chain. And now I think even Tamada is taking this idea, seeing the benefits of this, and especially what containers explicitly solve in this use case and pushing that forward.
Now, Tegan, I want to ruffle some feathers here. Okay, with Unichain, I read their quote unquote white paper is pathetic. Okay. Whoa, did Josh just say that? I did. And the thing is this, okay? I'm kind of really fighting words, right? Now, I'll tell you why, though. First of all, it's not descriptive enough. This is obviously written by DeFi devs, not by distributed computer cryptographers. Okay? Look at all the authors. And this is a problem when you try to roll your own chain. I'll tell you what, there's at least 2 or if not 3 central points of failure. They did not consider the need to have reader rotation or the need to shuffle around nodes in their design. So if you have a sequencer or their trusted execution environment design centralized, right? And that machine, not because they optimize too much on safety. Yeah, that's going to be safe, but they didn't focus on the harder problem, which is called liveness. Is the system going to stay up? If the trusted execution environment server goes down, or if the other components go down, there's at least 2 or 3 such points of failure. The system doesn't work. You have a liveness failure. So it's so much easier to design protocols that are just safe. That's fine. They did that. It is safe, but it's not live. Now, I did give them a suggestion, but I'm just like, dude, don't you guys have basically unlimited resources? Why don't you hire actual distributed compute experts with none of those guys on the white paper are? But yeah, am I frustrated? about it. I understand where they're coming from. They give their governance token actual utility. That's one. But two, the bottom line is like, I don't understand. And this actually is a critique of Ethereum. They should be investing more in distributed compute experts. And these dApp chains or applications that want to create their own chain, these are not live protocols. They will not pass formal verification. And this is not ultimately good for the industry unless they solve that, which I can tell some of their point of view in the way that distributed compute work is it reminds me of me 3 years ago. I used to think the same way. I was just so focused on safety and not liveness, but actually liveness is harder to solve than safety. Anyways, I don't know, maybe we'll finally get a group,
What I'm hearing is people building on containers. The DEX is building on containers now on Supra. They have an inherent advantage to these L2s like Unichain and L1s. Anyway.
Yes, and I'll just expand on this just a little bit. I know that we're going over time here. The thing, though, is that DeFi developers are conceptual geniuses on the concept level for financial engineering. They don't, and we don't want them to have to also be geniuses on the infrastructure side. So we're trying to provide the core building blocks, and they provide the creative ideas to bring these things to life that attract real users that have product market fit. And by the way, I do want to mention in our containers idea and the full stack, fully vertically integrated concept we're bringing to market here, infrastructure, these applications are designed to collect most of the value. We do think the application layer will be the huge beneficiaries of Web2. Guess why? Because they are doing the marketing, building a community, creating a service and a protocol that's actually useful, that is actually more efficient, therefore creating value. And they should, as a result, collect that value. So a large of it. And then, of course, Supra will have his micro fees. And our job is to fill the block space the maximum we can. And naturally, if we achieve that, if applications become runaway successes, then we also, as the core infrastructure, which we're tethered to together, we're on this journey together, we also will be a success. Not financial advice, X, Y, and Z, but that's my opinion.
Thank you for that. I want to hand over to Phil to add on any of the points there or revisit the question of what in the perp landscape excites you the most.
Yes, thanks for the question. I think for me, super interesting right now is, of course, zero slippage trading. I think this is a huge step forward. Yeah, then also, as we already mentioned, we have the Bitcoin as collateral basically over bit layer, and the auto yield basically that we take from the VMM, from our virtual market maker, that brings us the yields. But also I'm super excited right now for the zero knowledge states. This is some very interesting topic right now, especially to see where this could all goes. And of course layer 2 solutions I also see a lot right now that are super, super interesting. But zero knowledge state machines, this is quite interesting right now. And also what you said about the spoofing and the high frequency trading, of course, this will get more when fees are lowered and if there's more possible. But this is nice if you have a more anonymized layer 2 that doesn't give them the front running capabilities, right? So yeah, I'm very excited what will come there in terms also to protect retail more while trading, right?
Definitely, yeah. I believe with virtual labs in your architecture with its ZK state channels, it's very reliant on the underlying settlement and finality layer and it being
Exactly.
MEV resistant, et cetera, like if you mentioned.
Exactly. And looking at some developments in the world, I think it's super important to have a trustless execution, also being decentralized. I think this is, we see more and more how important that can be. So there's a lot of good news and good new vibes in the space where I see a lot of energy is flowing there. And I think this is a very good development, yeah, for the whole space.
Definitely. On that note of more and more decentralized, I know Josh probably wants to jump in with a lot of the research advancements we've made on parallel execution sharding and the amount of nodes we're able to bring out to. I'm gonna have to stop you right there because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
But
unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this has been an amazing space. I have one more question and then I'm going to wrap this up. So bringing this out to everyone. What do you believe is the future of order books on chain?
I'll take this first. We're seeing a lot of innovations in the blockchain space time, gigagas, TPS, and other things. So in the future, I believe we will have a fully on-chain Binance up and running. There will be some sacrifice in terms of how it will work, especially on the EVM side. But I think on the Moon side, we can achieve this without sacrificing that. And it would be something, I'll say, pretty cool to look forward as a space involving, especially when Hyperliquid prove themselves what they can do. And users in the end actually do not care much about the blockchain or other things. They just care about the experience. As long as we can deliver those without sacrificing the ethos of decentralized finance, I think we are in a bright spot and a bright future in building the on-chain order books infrastructure and in general.
I want to cheat a little bit and allow you to bring in one extra thing. Can you answer the question, like, what about Virtue DeFi or what you're building right now are you most passionate about?
I'll say in that light, actually, I'll say what you're essentially building something that allows us to trade with anything. The core ethos of DeFi, as you can see with the rise of DeFi some long back, is you're able to trade any token with any token, especially in spot market. And this has not been something that we have seen in derivatives at all. Derivatives are still extremely risk conscious, and majority of them actually just take stable coins in terms of order book infrastructure. And yeah, but we want to change the ethos where we want to allow more than just, if anybody remembers, there will be long back, there was an exchange called Ether Delta that got started on SEC way back, but that was a fully order book on chain spot order book, but collateralized by ETH. So everything was done with ETH because BTC and ETH were the most dominant code pairs at the time. There was no USDC. So we want to bring those era back to DeFi. At Virtue, what we're building, essentially, you can build your order book infrastructure exactly like Hyperliquid, but you can have your own market maker as well. But you can have your books collateral by, say, let's say Supra token or any other token that you feel comfortable with. So you can build an entire coin margin based order book from the scratch. We will take the legwork. We just have to deploy the capital in the pool and basically deploy a market maker. And that's what we're building as well in terms of what it can do. And the possibilities are infinite. But yeah, thanks for taking for mentioning and allowing me to say so.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the things that really clicked and excited me when I first talked to you guys and was learning about the concept you're building. Some background here. Right now in DeFi, you have three major routes as an investor. You either buy and hold like ETH, BTC. Of course, on centralized exchanges, you can utilize like CoinM, different type of collateral types. But the unique part about DeFi, which is the second option, is that you can hold like yield-bearing tokens that have underlying strategies or different risk profiles, such as ST or like, let's say, Solve BTC, etc. That's the second option. But now the third that is really getting unlocked, that is unique, I really haven't seen in this space. The only one I saw was Lyra that they rebranded, but now they're allowing ST ETH as collateral, but it didn't gain like a ton of traction for derivatives. Is what you're talking about, allowing almost any token to be utilized as collateral. So I can let's take, for example, like Pendle, PT, LBTC. I can create a market for that. I can keep my 10, 11% APY on Bitcoin, almost use that to fund the funding rate of the perps and then go long on Bitcoin. Like the true degen I am, this is something I wanted, but I didn't have access to.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Phil, you're like a perfect transition now to what went on in this conversation. Do you want to grab the mic?
I guess so, yeah. I think also cross-chain order books will be super interesting. Privacy enhancements must follow up with that as well, of course, with zero knowledge proofs to not really, revealing the specifics of any trade or of every trade, basically. And by that, also making on-chain order books like more secure. And also what I'm looking forward is like the decentralized autonomous market makers. I think that will also be a huge improvement. So yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things to come and a lot of good innovations.
Definitely. Infra has to travel at the speed of light to match all the ideas being thrown out by developers in the space.
Exactly. And DEF CON will be another fueling point for that.
For sure, for sure. Surbi, I'll hand the mic off to you.
Thanks, Tegan. And I would like to say infra has to travel at the speed of light, but Joshua did tell us that Supra is forefront, so that's why we're excited. I think most of the points have been covered. However, I think one thing which I'm seeing, and especially with chains such as Supra, that now the entire order book can actually be fully on chain. Until now, most of the order books have not been fully on chain, or they've been partially off chain in certain manner because it's been really expensive, right? Like, first of all, speed or throughput has not been that fast. Secondly, the fees itself are extremely high, which does not permit or doesn't make it feasible at all to have the order books on chain. The other bit is with things such as intent coming along or certain infrastructure which have been there, liquidity aggregation, which slightly we already touched upon. And I also think the third thing is, which now, and that brings back to the first point itself, that now, due to the kind of change which are coming, and also like specifically with the gas fee being really low, high volumes can be done without like really high fees, simply put, which is really important. And I think the fourth thing, which I expect, and I think we're already seeing, is a composable DeFi and automated strategies, right? And primarily what that would mean is that with everything on chain, order books could actually be directly accessed by the protocols. So this could, and I think, Philip, you briefly touched upon this, like automated trading strategies or like yield generation, arbitrage opportunities, which could actually allow people who've not studied or who don't need to get into the mathematics or Greeks of it to be able to trade in a smarter and more risk-averse way. And I think finally what I'd be really excited about, I think the entire trading suite or this being on-chain, order book being on-chain, moving towards more the traditional clearing houses without the intermediaries. So we could see a London clearing house or a Deutsche Börse, or the Clearstream part of it, where it's not just the order book, but the clearing and settlement also taking place completely on-chain, which allows for less manipulation of market and less chance of a lot of inefficiencies which do exist in Wall Street even today. And sometimes it does take about like 24 to 48 hours to settle down because of different formulas used across the industry. So this is how I see primarily how order books could change. And yeah, and we hope like some of us are building towards it and it allows more people to trade.
Definitely. And very excited to see all the builders here building towards that. And fully on-chain order books, despite it being taught for a long time, just has not been implemented in practice as much as a lot of people think. Most perp dexes out there are not as decentralized and fully on-chain as you might imagine. And with the builders and the talent in this space that is going to be contributing to the DeFi on Supra, I'm very excited for the future here, the composability, and how this ecosystem is really going to shape up. Peter, finally off to you. Or is Peter still here from Tamada?
It looks like he might have dropped.
Gotcha. Okay. But yeah, I think this really wraps up the space then. James, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much, Tegan. And thank you so much to our panelists there from Kana Labs, Virtual Labs, Virtue, DeFi, and Tamada. Appreciate that. And as you can hear, there's
Thanks for
a lot
being
of, yeah, it's really great to have you guys, man. Thank you.